Hey everybody, how are you doing? This is Lance Tomashiro and I am super excited that you made it here today because what we're going to be talking about is, well, how to be more productive with your time. I mean, imagine if instead of spending all of your time worrying about sites, setting up sites, doing all of this technical stuff, you actually got to do the thing that made you money, which is marketing your site. And the person that's going to be speaking to you today, Mr. Robert Plank, is an absolute expert on time management. I mean, the things that he's going to show you that you can do in just 60 seconds are going to absolutely blow you away. And here's what I really want you to do. I want to make sure that you close down all of the windows. I want to make sure that for the next 59 minutes, you give all of your full attention to Robert because, well, I can speak from experience that from productivity standpoint, from a making money standpoint, this man knows more about these topics than anybody else on the internet. And the reason that I know this is because he is the person that actually took me from wasting time online to making money online, to enjoying the money I make online and having time to do the things that I want. It's the systems that he's developed, the things that he taught me about, just little mindset shifts about looking at your time that allowed me to literally take 30 days completely off. No phone, no TV, no computer, no nothing. And it's the things he's going to talk about today that's going to help you to do that. So once everything's closed down, once we know that we have your attention, go ahead and type into the question box so we know you can hear us, so that we know you know where it is, the word time. Because if nothing else, what you're going to realize here is that looking at your time is what's going to make you more money. And that's what it's all about. So now that it looks like everybody's ready from Germany, from the US, from Thailand, from all over the world, welcome Mr. Robert Plank.
Awesome. Thanks for introducing me, Lance. And yeah, so we're looking at this thing called time, and we're looking at what happens on the internet in 60 seconds. And just to kind of give you an idea, I mean, it's one thing to say 60 seconds, but just to kind of see it, tick away in front of you is a whole different experience. So in just 1 minute of every minute of the internet being around, all these crazy different things happen. There's 25 new hours of content on YouTube, 168 million emails getting sent. Some of them are from me and Lance. People post stuff on Craigslist, thousands and thousands of minutes of calls on Skype, hundreds of thousands of tweets, all in about 60 seconds. And just in the time it took me to put out that one sentence, the minute's half over. So when you're at this point in your life when you're running out of time, or you're not making money, or you're not making as money as you want, or you just know that the path I'm going on right now is just, it's not working, something has to change, then you end up kind of looking into all this, time management stuff I know that I have, and you hear all this kind of weird advice, like if you're a WordPress website builder, like many of us are, and you want to set up more sites in a day, well then, don't check email first thing in the morning, or they give you all these ideas like, well, there's this thing here called the 80-20 rule, and this is all good advice, except for what ends up happening is people get, I don't know if this is the right term, but basically evangelized into all these technical words. And they go around telling every single person they know about the 80-20 rule, and then everyone agrees and normally does anything, but they all agree that, well, the time that you allot to a task will fill up so that it takes out that whole block of time you've assigned to it. That's true. There's this thing called the 80-20 rule. That's true. Which means that 80% of what you do only gives you 20% of the results, but the other 20% of what you do gives you the remaining 80% of the results. And what that means is that you're doing all these different things right now today, and only this tiny area is actually worth doing, or this tiny area makes you way more money, or it takes you way less time than everything else. So I mean, that's something that we're going to be talking about today, is just making better use of your time, and it's going to be using this tool that many of you have, some of you don't have, called BackupCreator, which will secure and protect your WordPress sites in one click. But one thing that really dawned on me when we created this backup tool is that it's a productivity plugin, basically, and it saves you hours and hours of setting up a site, and likewise, it saves your butt if the site accidentally gets deleted, or if something bad happens to it. Because, I mean, look at this. I mean, on the internet, all kinds of crazy things are going on around us. There's traffic, millions and hundreds of millions of clicks everywhere. People online, all kinds of people on Facebook right now, all kinds of people on webinars, all this stuff happening on the internet. So many places to get distracted. And I know that some people get so stressed out about, well, someone's out there to get me. Someone's trying to get in and hack my site. And this is my email from this morning, actually. And right now my blog is under attack, and someone is sending all kinds of junk comments over to my blog. See how it's like, every couple of minutes there's a new comment. It's some other new junk, a bunch of different IP addresses, and I could look at this and say, oh no, I'm under attack. There's no point in doing anything. I've got to like hunker down and keep everything protected and just spend all day making sure that they just can't get in. And I could be really tempted to go, like, for example, if I went on, say, like Google Images. Let's see, images, Google, and if I went and did something like, if I searched like hacked sites, and I could look at all these different crazy images and say like, oh my gosh, I hope this doesn't happen to my site. I might look at the people coming to my site who end up leaving without buying. I might look at people who unsubscribe from my email list, because that happens every day. Or I could just actually do something to make some money. I don't know. Most of you probably don't get an email like this, but I have what's called a dedicated server where I can host a bunch of my websites all in one place, and I get an email every single day from this dedicated server with a lot of messages like this. And most days I don't look at that, but it's good to have, right? And I know there's a lot of like technical stuff, so you don't probably want to look at every single thing, but we can look at every single, and this is from one day. So in one day, then someone has tried to log into my dedicated server from the name root 300 times, 100 more times, 100 more times, and all these are from different parts of the world. All these are on automatic pilot. And so, for example, like this one, like this 58.215, let me just type that in real quick, do a little techno wizardry, and bring this up. So that person is coming from Nanjing, China, and so there's some computer over in China trying to get into my site. So, I mean, that's just how it is, and many of you don't even know that people are trying to get into your sites, but as long as they don't get in, well, that's fine, because there's definitely a balance there, right? There's a point where we do want to make sure that everything's closed up, but we don't want this to just completely consume and overtake us where we can't get anything done, because there's a lot of bad advice out there, and there's advice that's so bad that I think it's worse than having no advice at all. And this is where someone says, well, you know what, if people are trying to get into your site all day long, or people are trying to spam your site all day long, well then the best thing you can do right now is to change the name you log into WordPress with. Okay, and whatever you do, just change it from the name admin, and then then you'll be all good. Or some people say, well, you know what your problem is that your password's too short. Is that your password's only 10 numbers and letters long. It needs to be 20 letters long, and you change that, you'll be all good. Or people even get really crazy, and they get into like some of these magical terms. And they say, well, you know what you need to do is you need to chmod your folders, or you need to change your database prefix, and they end up giving you this laundry list of hundreds of different things to fix. And that's fine, except for the problem is we're getting back to this 80-20 rule, right? And that, well, I mean, I don't care what your opinion is. Changing your username, sure, technically it'll help, but it marginally makes things better. It's like, I would say like 1% better, right? 1% more secure, protected. Changing your prefix, well, sure, I guess there's maybe one or two scenarios where if someone gets lucky when they hack in, then maybe this will help you. But if someone's in, then they're in, right? And so what really just makes this whole thing really silly is people give me, like hundreds of little tips and change this, change this, change this, and then they do something like they go into a public Wi-Fi network, like they go to Starbucks, or they go to McDonald's, Panera Bread, or like a hotel, and then they just log into their website, into their WordPress site right there, and then it broadcasts their password. And there's in fact a browser plugin. There's a video somewhere on YouTube where someone installs a plugin for a Firefox browser and just leaves his computer open, and in about a minute it just picks up like 20 or so different passwords from people all around this Starbucks cafe kind of thing. So people, they basically they basically put bars on the windows but leave the front door wide open, right? Or they tell you to change this, secure all this stuff, and then they install some plugins that aren't trusted. And I mean, one thing that most people don't really realize is that if you install one bad theme or one bad plugin with what's called a backdoor on it, then anyone can get into your entire site, and depending on how your website is, your entire, like, everything on that site. So it's just very, very silly when you get all this advice of, like, do all these things to protect your site when there are other ways in. Okay, so the point of all this is, if you're worried about getting hacked, you're worried about getting someone in, well, like, do what you can, but the most important thing for you to do is to have your site backed up so that if the worst happens, then you have a way to get back. And it's no secret, Lance and I have a very powerful tool, a backup plugin called BackupCreator, and it's very simple. You install this plugin, we'll show you it in a few minutes, you back up your site, and then if you ever want to put your site back to where it was, then you can. So let's say that you back up your site, get a different pen color here, you back up your site on a Monday, right? And then maybe on Friday, maybe something bad happens to it, or for whatever reason you just want to go back, you just upload Monday's backup, your site's back. If you want to move or copy your site from one place to another, which could be a different web address or just same web address, different web host, it remembers everything for you. Content, plugins, theme, settings, tweaks, files, all that. You can back up your site, so have it just run once a week, and then it uploads over to Amazon S3, and this is built in, so that if you ever had to go back and grab that one file, get that one thing, you can get it back. And even if you manage WordPress websites for clients, well, then part of what you provide can be backing up, or hacker recovery, or file recovery, or jazz it up any way you want, because this is a huge productivity booster. Because if one site's down and it takes you all day to fix, and you've pretty much lost a day. And you know what? The other day I accidentally deleted an old folder containing about 30 gigabytes worth of some of my products, and some of them were old and some of them weren't. But I think if I just go to, let's see, if I go to the folder I was going, I just deleted the wrong thing. It happens. And I thought I had a backup somewhere, but I wasn't completely sure. And I really freaked out, and I had like this feeling of like my whole world came crashing down around me. And I looked at this folder, and some of these are old products, but I'd rather have them in case I need them. And just to recover, like, I think there were a couple, like there's a product called Time Management on Crack, and there were some videos and some like a Word document that I would never be able to get back ever again. So I really freaked out, and I looked around and I found out where I had another backup of it. I ran some recovery software, I got it back, but it's just like, I'd rather just be a little more on the careful, paranoid side and be able to get some of that stuff back. Because, I mean, it doesn't cost you that much to have extra space. Space is so cheap. And the thing that we got to remember is that we're just a tiny little speck in the internet. All this crazy stuff is going on around us. And one thing that, just to kind of make you think in this way, this is called an abundance mindset. And if you've heard of this book called Think and Grow Rich, it's a really good book as far as getting your attitude, your mindset kind of changed up. And they have this one story where there's like some families like having breakfast, right? And there's all this like food on the table. And if you think about it, well, they had like grapefruit juice that came over from Florida, oatmeal that came over from Kansas, tea that came over from China, bananas came over from South America, bread, egg, sugar, butter. And they told this whole story of, well, you kind of take it for granted that you wake up a few minutes later, you have all this different, food from different parts of the world. But if you were to go out, if it was even a couple hundred years ago, you had to go out and get all these things, you'd spend your entire lifetime just getting these couple of things. And so the point of that is that the world's bigger than you, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's enough room to go around for all of us, so there's enough space, it's cheap enough, it's fast enough just to have a couple of extra backups, have a backup of your site every day, every week, and I mean, it's not going to cost any more money. So we're talking about this thing called leverage, because if you think about all the things that you don't have to do, not even with that brush example, but when you go and turn a faucet on, you just expect water to come out. you flip a switch, you just expect light to turn on. You don't think about, electrons coming through the wires. It just happens. You put your garbage in the trash in your house instead of going out to the landfill or dumping it, into the ocean, right? You didn't have to make your own clothes you put on this morning. You didn't have to assemble the car you drove today. You just click a link and it just happens, right? So you have one input and then one output kinds of happens, and this is called selective ignorance. And usually it's not good to be ignorant, but when you're ignorant for certain things, then you can focus on just a handful of the things that actually matter. So like, I don't really care how my website's running. I don't care when I type in a web address how it ends up coming back, or how every nook and cranny of WordPress or a website works. I just care about, well, what am I going to name my website? How is it going to look? What content am I going to put things in? What folders? How am I going to rearrange things? I'm just focusing on the handful of things that matter. 20 or 80-20 rule, right? That's 20% of what I should even be focused on. Because if you were constantly amazed and you turned on the lights and said, oh my gosh, the lights came on again every single time. Oh my gosh, my car started. Oh my gosh, an airplane in the sky. Well, then you wouldn't get anything done. You'd be too in shock from every single thing that was happening for you. So you do need to take some things for granted and systematize things. And in a lot of ways, your subconscious, your brain, ends up doing this for you. You tie your shoes, you walk, you run, you drive your car. You just kind of do things without thinking. And if you do anything that's even a little more technical, like editing videos or writing emails or talking right now, like, you don't think about all that stuff. It just happens. So like, you think about now, you don't know, when you first started driving a car, you thought about, well, I'm going to be very careful and turn the steering wheel this way. I've got to make sure to shift this gear or whatever. But now you're thinking, okay, I'm going to drive down this street, go that way. You're thinking on a much higher level now, because your brain gives importance to what is new. If everything around you is exactly the same, you don't think about how your house looks every single day. You don't think about how your face looks every single day. Just, well, maybe there's some new mark on my face. Well, what's that all about? Maybe there's some new email that came in. Well, what's that all about? So what's new is now important. So you didn't have to decode all those ones and zeros going through the internet. You don't have to think about every letter and every word that I'm saying to you, or that you're seeing on the screen. You don't have to think about, what it takes for me to talk to you right now. That I'm using my computer and that goes through cables and bounces off satellites and goes through Wi-Fi, and there's electricity involved and physics and gravity and electrons and light, and there's heat around you just so that you don't freeze to death, and you're breathing and I'm breathing and my blood's flowing and I can see things, and there's light in different spectrums that I can't even see, and there's sound waves bouncing all around. Who cares about that, right? So the point is that in the same way that websites happen, in the same way that WordPress happens, you didn't have to write all that stuff. Like, I don't know if you've ever looked into like a WordPress folder, but there's all kinds of files and folders. You don't have to know what every single thing does. You just need to know how to install it, how to use it. All right? So that's what we're talking about today, to multiply your productivity by about 50 times, because some people out there, they might tell you that they have a system to get you a lot more time than you put in, or that what you should do is write down every single possible task you have to do. Well, do you have to set up WordPress today? Well, great. We'll write down figuring out the theme, the icons, the plugins, the graphics, the domain name, the DNS, the name server. Just write down the big long list. And then they say, well, then what you do is you kind of separate this into like draw a circle and label them A, B, C, D, and A is the most important, D is least important, and kind of sort these out so that you know what to do first, what to do last. I don't know about you, but that sounds really complicated. Or they say, what you should do is take a 30-minute work period and then take a break for about 7.5 minutes and then work for 15 more minutes and then take a 25-minute break. And then I'm thinking, well, now I'm on a schedule. Now I'm like an hourly employee. They tell you some more cool things, right? More evangelizing. They say, you know what? sucks is a to-do list, but what's cool is a to-don't list. So have a list of everything that you're not going to do. And everyone says, hey, that sounds cool, I'll pass that on, I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to tell everyone to have a to-don't list because it just sounds so trendy and cool. Or they tell you to schedule free time into your calendar. They say, well, what you should do is schedule when you're going to wake up, when you go and eat lunch, when you go to the bathroom, when you go and take a smoke break, when you go and take a walk, when you go and take a water break, when you go and take an exercise break, and then you end up with like this, once again, completely overwhelming system. So the only question with that is how many days, not weeks or months, but how many days is that going to last until it just becomes more trouble than it's worth, and then you end up regressing back to your previous self. So I mean, what's the real answer? Lance and I tell you all the time, 4 daily tasks. So if you just had 4 things that you were doing today, that's pretty much all that you get finished on an average day anyway. So why kid yourself? Why try to think about every single possible thing I'm doing? Why try to make it more than it is? You really only do 4 things on a typical day. But you might be thinking, well, that's not true because, I check my email, I check Twitter, I go and do some Facebook marketing, I get some joint ventures going on, I go and I do some more market research, I get some keywords, I buy some products, I set up some websites. But those are all the really tiny things, right? And once again, 80-20 rule, most of those things actually don't belong in your day. You went and bought resale rights to that one product. Did you set it up? Did you make sales? Did you make money back from it? Or did it go and get filed in that special little folder? So there are 4 things that are the most important for you to do right now. And they might not be little easy things like register a domain name, but they might be set up a website. It might be write a blog post or make a video, right? Or make this other module of this course, but actual legitimate tasks, not just little blips on the radar. So we have this system called 4 daily tasks, and because I know people need to have a cool name for things, we call it 4DT. And because people also need to have a trendy name for focus, because focus doesn't sound fun, but you know what does sound fun? Monotasking. I keep hearing this over and over. People say, well, what you try to do is multitasking. You try to have all these balls in the air. You try to have your email and Facebook and Twitter open while you're coming up with articles and talking to people, and then your brain just plays tricks on you. It's kind of like if you ever stayed awake for a couple of days, if you pulled an all-nighter in college, things like that, you end up thinking that you're getting a lot done, and maybe like you had to write a term paper or something, and you wrote it, and you were like, oh, this is awesome, I'm so glad I stayed awake for 3 days for this. You take even a couple hours nap, wake up, and it's terrible because your brain plays tricks on you with these things like multitasking. So it's time to play some tricks back and monotask instead. We're not talking about having all these to-do list items. I gotta do this. There are just 4 things that I need to do today. So 3 tasks that take about 45 minutes and 1 task that takes about 10 minutes, and that's it. And then your day is done. Don't do anything else. Get off the computer, go back and enjoy life. Now, on some days, you don't get all 4 of them done. On some days, you might get all 4 done. You might get 1 or 2 done. But if you miss a task today, then tomorrow, either you go and do that task again, or you don't do it because it wasn't at all important. So let me just show you what I mean right here. I'm just going to go log in on our Facebook account, and I'm going to post my 4 tasks for today. And some of you are in this private group, some of you aren't, but I'm just going to say today what we have to do is we're doing our BackupCreator webinar. So I'm on that, that's done. And then one other thing I need to do is I need to send a couple of emails and do some Odesk stuff. I need to set up some pitch webinars and that video. And then one other thing that I need to do here is I need to outline an upcoming 100 articles, and it'll take less time than it looks like. So I've got 4 things to do today, and that's it. And I mean, it doesn't have to be any more simple than that. I don't have to say, well, find this one PowerPoint, upload it. No, it's just this is what I'm going to do, and this number 2 task is probably going to take me about 10 minutes. The rest will take me about 45 minutes to an hour, and then I'm done. And then tomorrow will be another day. So what this means is I'm doing these 4 tasks that are moving me closer towards making more money, which is what we all want. Okay, so that is That's what 4 daily tasks is. And what happens is, on every single month that I actually stick to this system, I make more money, I get more done. And everyone that Lance and I know, if they stick to 4 daily tasks, then they will make more money, get more done. But what happens if you're not careful, and I mean we've all been there, is that you end up getting comfortable, right? You get on this cool trend of 4 daily tasks, you get this momentum, inertia, whatever you want to call it, and then you say, well, I'm so smart that if 4 tasks worked, then 20 tasks will work 5 times as good, right? Or I'm so smart that now I'll just kind of do them in my head. I know I've got 4 things to do. I'll just kind of like think in my head what I'm doing. Or I'll have all these balls in the air so that while I'm doing my 4 things, then I'll have all this traffic coming and all these articles done, and I'll have all these windows open, and I'll have all these browser tabs open. And you know what? I know that if I run my little countdown timer here and I say that I've got 45 minutes. Like, I know that when I have that running, that I actually get more things done. But you know what? I don't need that anymore. I've graduated. I don't need that. I'm not going to tell someone else what I'm doing because I'm an adult. I can keep track of what I need to get done. I'm my own babysitter. You know what? I used to use Google Calendar to schedule meetings, but that's just too simple. I'll just kind of figure things out. We'll just meet whenever. And what ends up happening is that you end up spending longer and longer time on your business and getting less and less back. So it always seems kind of weird to post 4 things for Lance and I to use an online Google Calendar to kind of schedule things. And even right now when we're doing like pitch webinars, things like that, or any kind of a training session, just to have like words on the screen to keep me on track, it seems silly, but it really helps keep me focused. And so many times you just have to be more careful and in a way like dumb things down and make things simpler than they probably need to be, just so that you can manage it. So that means get a good night's sleep. I mean, imagine how much easier your life is when you don't have to struggle to stay awake. You're just kind of there. Or what if you finished jobs before you're done? Whether you are a product creator or you use things like BackupCreator to set up client sites or WordPress sites. What if you told someone that you needed 2 weeks to set up this WordPress site? You had it done in a week. You had it done early. Well, now there's a lot less stress. Safeguard against disaster. Have that WordPress site backed up just in case something happens. And put up a web page that's good enough, because since we're keeping things simple, we know that we might not actually fix it later. And I know that I don't always trust myself, and I know that that chances are if I set up a site, I'm not going to go back, and maybe tomorrow I might not even feel like going back and checking out that site. So I might as well just put it up good enough right now and get it done. Because so many times Lance and I will be in a meeting and he'll say, well, can you go in and double check this on this site? And I'll say, I'll do it right now. And he says, well, you don't have to do it right now. I said, but if I don't do it right now, then I'm going to forget, because I don't want to have all these things that I have to do. It's going to take 30 seconds. We're on a meeting right now. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Because it's so easy to fall into this vicious cycle where you end up in this really bad place, right? This place where everything's just a big mess and it's complicated and it's confusing, and then you have to just like throw it all away and then go back to just something really simple. But then you build up the simple, and you just build it up until now you end up right back in that place where you were. And what I mean by that is, let's say that when you first went to go set up a website, you said, I need to go and research everything there is to know. I find out about different, quad-core Pentium servers and learn about hosting, registrars, DNS, about FTP. But now I realize once I have a website, I need to set up all this code. Like, do I need to know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery? Do I need to know like the Microsoft stuff? What do I need to know? But then after just like pretty much curling up into a ball and crying, you say, cool, I found WordPress. WordPress means that I might need to know a little bit to be dangerous, but I don't need to know how to like code things. I just know set up the site, use this theme, use these plugins. So I'll keep it simple. I'll just use WordPress. But then you end up back heading off into confusing land, right? You say, well, now I need to research all the 5,000 different themes to use. Let me go and research the top 2,000 themes, because I know that it comes with a theme. I know that out of the box, it's a functioning website, but I can't possibly use that. So now I finally, after a couple weeks, I found that theme, but now which plugins? Well, I know that out of the box, it works fine. Sure, I might have to I may look into like some other security plugin or some SEO or some traffic plugin, but can't I just use it right now out of the box? Well, then I've stumbled upon this thing called OptimizePress. Oh, cool! I can run my whole website from one plugin. Oh, except for it's so confusing. I have to learn all these things. Now I can use Wishlist to take payments, except for I've got to go and research every single possible tab. The thesis theme looks pretty cool. Oh shoot, but now I need to know how to make my own add-ons for thesis, and then you just end up in this vicious cycle. So it's so important to simplify things down, and earlier this week I promised that I'd share with you what you need to get the most out of life, MOST. Each one is a part of this acronym. So first of all, you got this mindset stuff is really important. It always seems kind of out of place when we're talking about WordPress sites or marketing or freelancing or getting paid for services or selling products. But as a self-employed business owner, you need to get in the right mindset because no one else is going to do it for you. If you're not excited about making money, then you're not going to make money, at least not long term. So you need to get in that right mindset and be aware of where you're getting off track. Now we get to organization, which means that you get rid of all that clutter, get rid of all the balls in the air, get rid of that 80% of what you're doing that's taking too long or not making enough money, and just make things very simple. And what you realize is once you do things that make you even a little bit of money, and I mean it's easy to make money if you went out onto a site like Fiverr.com, you can make $5 at a time. You want on a site like Odesk.com, you can bid on jobs, you can post what it is that you do, set whatever rate you want, and then it just becomes a matter of do people hire me or not. But it's easy to get hired on the internet, just as a matter of at first it might be a little slow going. At first, you might have to get paid a little bit less than what you want, but once you make some of those connections, then you can work your way up. And these are with systems, because the cool thing about having a repeatable system is that let's say that the very first time you set up WordPress, maybe it took you 2 hours. And maybe a lot of that is just because you got stuck on one screen. Like you didn't know how to set it up the fast way, you had to fill in a big long form, you got stuck on one little item for half an hour or for an hour. But once you do that a few times, then maybe you can set up WordPress in 5 minutes. So when you go from 2 hours to 5 minutes, how much has that quadrupled or multiplied your income? Getting paid the same thing, but now 2 hours is just 5 minutes. So you already use systems every single day and you don't even realize it, like we said, like for like walking, talking, using the computer. But also when you set up a website, there's probably some kind of a checklist in your head where you click on this, you go to that screen, add this plugin, and if you just kind of put that down into a Word document, even though it might seem silly, it might seem too simple, just list out the 10 or 20 things you do that you exactly click on, it'll be so valuable to you because you'll do it fast. And if you happen to not do it for a month or for a few weeks and you come back, now you won't be rusty, you won't miss any steps, you just repeat that system. And then what you end up doing is you end up with basically a starting point every time you make a website. I know that every time that I make a report, like a PDF report, I have a Word document I open up and I start from a previous report I'd written. When I set up a WordPress site, I don't start with a blank WordPress. I start with a WordPress site I've already had. Even Lance and I were talking earlier that so many times when we run webinars or do training or make videos, things like that, many times we're just kind of reassembling things that we've already taught, but just in a way that kind of makes more sense. So much of what we do isn't from scratch, it's just recycled from things that we've already had. So that's why today we're going to get to how to secure and protect your WordPress sites in one click with this one tool. It's called BackupCreator. And what you can do is not only back up your site, but have a starting point anytime you make a website, whether that is your website or a website you get paid to set up. And we use this thing called WordPress, and Lance and I call this the first platform that makes a lot of scary things like FTP obsolete. So you can literally just click around and not have to really know anything. And maybe you do know it, but you don't have to use it. You just click around and you can set up a website. use one of thousands of plugins which changes your functionality. Like you can add a form or a pop-up or a theme, which means you can change the look and feel of the site. There are $1 million businesses built on it, like WooCommerce, WishListMember, ThemeForest, BackupCreator. A lot of people use it, and you just use it to create good-looking websites fast that do what you want. So basically, it's invented for blogs. But if you think about it, what's a blog? A blog is a website, right? You have a site, you have pieces of content that pretty much describes most sites. So you can set up a blog, set up a local business site for someone else, a membership site, which is just a blog behind a password with an account, a sales letter. So my question to you is, what do these sites have in common? Sites like eBay, Yahoo, CNN, the New York Times, Sony, Nokia. Well, it's that they all use WordPress, and 16% of the top 1,000 sites and 22% of all new websites use WordPress. It's over 72 million websites online, and BackupCreator is a plugin that installs on top of WordPress. You got WordPress to set up a website, BackupCreator to back up and restore and clone those sites. So with BackupCreator, you back up your site in case something happens to it. You have a snapshot in time. If you run a backup every day, every week, you can go back to an old backup if you need to grab that old video or that old file or whatever you need. It's a starting point. It's a template for new sites. You can move sites to a new web host or a new web address. You can set up test sites just so you don't break anything. Sandbox sites to try new things. You flip sites to set up a site that has traffic, that has content, that even makes some sales. Someone buys it. How do you get the site from you to them? Most people don't think about that, right? But they buy the site, they give you a login, you log in, boom, site's moved over in a few seconds. And just any new site you set up, now you just use this plugin. And is it okay if I show you how to do it? If it is, go ahead and type in OK in the question box, and I will get this thing pulled up. So it looks like they were rolling in. A bunch of people are okay, but let's get you better than okay. So I'm going to log into our site called BackupCreator, and just give me a minute to log in. And so this is the members area, and many of you already have access to this, some of you don't. But let me just show you how easy this is. So we're going to log in over to BackupCreator, and we're going to grab this WordPress plugin. So here it is right here. I'm just going to click on this, and it will download our zip file right here. Then I'm going to go over to a site that we always have it around just if we need it, called Dentists in Orem, Utah. And Lance and I love this site because this is a WordPress theme that was just installed out of the box. Lance found a domain name that was available in his area, set up WordPress, set up this theme, and didn't do anything else. Didn't fill in anything, but it looks like a professionally designed site. And if you think about it, back to that little breakfast analogy, how long would it have taken to make all this from scratch? Get this graphic, add this thing, get all this, make it all look clean, add this navigation. Who knows how long it would have taken to make this by hand, but luckily we just plug in a tool for this. So we've just got WordPress installed, and let me log in here. And what we want to do is we might say, okay, well, I want to go to my local businesses and find dentists who either don't have websites or have websites that suck, and say, all right, well, for $2,000, I'll set up just a simple 5-page site for you with the pictures of the inside, the map, your hours, the staff, just a handful of things that people want to know when they're looking up a dentist. And that way, if it even gets you 1 or 2 new clients a year, it's worth it. So they say, okay, well, can I see what the website will look like? And then what you can do is just go to your little template here, duplicate it, and then have the site done for them in a few minutes that day, right? So what you do is you log into, this is called your WordPress dashboard. Most of you know what this is. So this is like the behind the scenes of WordPress. And what you want to do is add a new plugin. So we go plugins, add new, and there's a little tab here that says upload, and I'm just going to upload that zip file that we just saved. So there it is right there. I'm just going to install this thing, and let me let this go through. So it's pretty cool because you don't have to learn any new programs. You just do this all from your web browser, right? And then we give this a second to upload the plugin. It sure seems to be taking its sweet time. That's just because we're on a live call, and when you're on a live call, everything goes wrong, right? Folder already exists. Oh shoot! All right. So let's see what's going on there. Cool. So it looks like the the plugin showed up. We're going to go over to our settings, and here we go. So we need to enter our information. Let me just really quickly put this in here. And so in just a couple of seconds, now we're up and running, and we're ready to back up this site. So what we can do is just back up the site and then store a copy of it for safekeeping, but then also set it up somewhere else new as well. So we can just click on back up the site, or sure you want to back it up, sure, and boom, it's already done in just a couple of seconds. Now we have a backup of the site. So if we go over to list of backups, once it comes up, my internet connection's slow today. We have this 15 megabyte file. I can click on that, and that will save our backup to our hard drive, right? So that's cool. We've got this website, and now let's just set up a copy of it somewhere else. So I'm going to go into my my website backend. Let me just log in here real quick, and we'll go to this Fantastico Deluxe area. I'll set up a new website. I'm not sure if I already have one set up. I already have one. All right, let's just set up a new one then. So let me just clear this out for you. Start from scratch. And we'll set up a site. And we'll just put this on membershipnewbie.com/dentist. For the password, I'll put in my first and last name. For the other thing, let me drag this off screen and set this up where you can't see. So now I've just filled in this one form, and it says, well, we're about to install a new WordPress site at membershipnewbie.com/dentist. So let me just finish installation. And if we give it a second, basically we're just setting up a blank new WordPress blog with nothing on it. So now this is set up, and if we look at this, I know it went kind of fast there, but here we go. This is what we have, membershipnewbie/dentist. This is a WordPress site with just some sample stuff on it, but there's basically nothing on here. And now we can do whatever we want with it. So I'm going to go ahead and log in to this site. And did I mess it up? Oh, Robert Plank. Okay. So we're now logged in here. And what we can do is just install BackupCreator and restore that other dentist site in a couple of seconds. So we just go plugins, add new, okay, upload, and then we're just going to put that zip file, where is it? Right in here, okay, install now, activate the plugin, and then we'll put in our, oh, I've got to log back in, shucks. We log back in and get my information, and then we will be up and running in just a second. So let me just grab that again. And this will be doubleagentmarketing.com. All right, cool. So we're back up and running, and we're ready to clone this dentist site over to this membership newbie site. So we want to have the same everything, same graphics, same text, but we want to have it over here on this other site. So pretty simple to do that. We're just going to go over, and I'm going to copy the address here. I'm going to go over here and we say restore from URL, and I will just paste this in. So I click on restore from backup, and this is just copying the backup from our dentist in Orem, Utah site, and then boom, it's already done. So if we go back to our membership newbie site and refresh, look at this. This is on membership newbie/dentist, and it's already copied over all the pages. If we had any logins, any users, any settings, all this has been copied over from this dentist in Orem, Utah site. So pretty simple just to use this one tool to back up a site, copy it over into a new place, and just so you don't have to worry about things. We can go over here and we can back up automatically. We can back this up, say, every Wednesday at 1 o'clock in the morning. We can email the backup to us every time. We can FTP the backup up to some other folder. We can send the backup automatically if we want up to Amazon S3. And it's just a very simple tool where there's just in a few clicks you can back up your site and then restore it somewhere else in just a few seconds. So that's what we have called BackupCreator, and I mean, I think that's going to be the #1 tool for you to get things done faster, getting things done faster is awesome, because that means that if you are setting up these sites for yourself, that means that you can get a site set up, have an idea for a product, for a membership site, for a blog, you get it set up, it's done, now you get back to everyday life. If you get paid to set up these sites, like Lance and I say all the time, like we have some friends who get paid $4,000 to set up a blank membership site with no content in it. Someone says, I've got this name for my site, and these people, I don't even think they let you choose your own theme. They install their theme, they install a couple of membership levels, they install a membership plugin, and they say, here you go, now fill it up with content, $4,000, and it's worth it for everyone involved, because, once again, going back to the Think and Grow Rich, the breakfast thing, like with the tea and the butter and the grapefruit juice and the orange juice and all that, it would take so much time for someone else to figure out all the pieces, but now you have your system and everybody wins, because whoever paid you to set up your site gets more out of what you've done for them than the money that they've paid. And it was easy for you because you just applied this repeatable system. You had the right mindset and the right organization because you kept it simple and you just started from your templates and set up a site in just a few seconds. So that's what we're talking about today as far as getting the most out of life, right? You need to get excited about making money, be a good person, have a good attitude, remove all this clutter, even though it might seem kind of weird to keep things to just 4 daily tasks, to have your backups in 2 locations, to just be done with the computer at the end of the day and not have all these windows open. And then that way you can focus on what's actually making you money, what actually works, what is fast, what is fun, and just repeat this step-by-step process that you have. For most of you on this call, it's from setting up these WordPress sites, and then now you set things up exactly the way you want it. And so, maybe you're one of those people who you look at things like people trying to get into your site, and you say, well, you know what? I'm not going to spend too much time about it, but there are about 5 or 10 things I'd like to do just to make sure that the site is completely locked down. I'm not saying that locking down a site, website security, is a bad thing, but let's just do it and move on, right? So now you can do it and move on. You can, instead of spending every single time you set up a site figuring out the exact theme, just use the same theme for all your sites. That is your starting point. So any way you like to have WordPress set up, I mean, I know we all kind of set it up differently. So you have your plugins, your theme, your settings, you set up your little template, you back it up, and then you restore it somewhere else. So speaking of backing it up, this is once again one of those things where it's pretty simple, and it's something that you just need to do, and that way you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to be stressed. You have that extra copy of it, and that way you don't have to be like me where I accidentally deleted that one file and had to go run around for it. That way you know that there's a copy of your websites, probably several copies of your websites somewhere out there. So this person, Matt Lister, says that he clones his sites in seconds. I mean, you saw me cloning a site in seconds, and that was even while I was talking to you. Most of the time it was even just from copy and pasting that license key. But once it's set up, you just back up in one place, restore somewhere else, and then boom, now you have a cloned site. And so now when he sets up a new website, instead of taking 2 days making a site from scratch, it's done in just a few seconds. This person, Lewis, uses it to install new sites, just back it up, and now he has his themes, his settings, and it's set, just backs it up, and then changes the posts, changes the content once the site is restored. Rob backs up his sites just because he doesn't have to worry about it. Randy now doesn't have to stay awake at night. He can sleep soundly because he knows that his sites are all backed up and safely stored away. If anything happens, he has a backup ready to replace his site almost instantly. Graham says he just backs up his sites each week and then downloads the complete backups, and it's already saved him because, I mean, you never know. Hopefully your site won't crash. Hopefully, with all the craziness going around the internet, hopefully one of these things won't run into your server. But just in case it does, it's easy just to have that one button click so that if the worst happens, now you have a way to get back. James sets up one site that he configured just the way he wants it, backs it up, and then now restores any new site. So I don't know how many sites he sets up, but he says 2 hours per site. So if you end up over the course of a year setting up 10, 20, 50, 100 sites, it adds up. You do the math. Now, what if someone hacks your site? We don't like to think about that, but this guy Dan has already recovered one hacked site, because you don't necessarily know what are the latest and greatest techniques that people use to get in. You do what you can, but you never know. And one thing that might actually happen is that your website is stored on a computer somewhere, on a computer in the sky, on a hard drive in a computer in what's called a server farm. Right? Sounds cool, but it just means that your website is in the same room as tons of these computers, and even on that same computer, there are tons of different websites. And I don't want to get too technical, but it's pretty common for someone to get into one website on this one hard drive on this one computer and end up on every other website, and yours might be one of them. So someone might have an unsecured site that someone gets into, and then they just leverage that and end up on your site as well. Doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. So you just don't know what tomorrow holds for you. So do what you can to lock it down, and just as an extra security measure, have the backup. So if you had to recover it, you could. Donna got 5 blogs hacked at one point, but now she's got the latest backups. And then after she used BackupCreator, well, she was able to get those backups. Even though the hacker did his best and tried to delete all her backups, she still had a way to get the site back and have peace of mind. So here's something else that's really cool, is that many people are using BackupCreator for what's called a staging area. Okay, so here's what I mean. Is first of all, Marion creates test sites for her WordPress clients. Or is Marion a guy or a girl's name? I have no idea. So he or she creates test sites. And this is really cool because it's a safe place to try new things for your site. And that means that I have a site called robertplank.com, right? But I don't necessarily want to make a bunch of crazy changes, because what if someone's on that site right now? What if like Rod, Gregory, Carol, Joshua, or anyone else on this call is on my site right now? Maybe I want to add in like a Facebook like button. I want to change some fonts, change the theme. But if someone's on the site right now, I don't want to disrupt their experience, right? Because they might be about to buy something. So what's really cool is I could take my Robert Plank blog, because it's on WordPress. I can create a backup, right? And then I restore it, so that way I have like a clone. So maybe I have this on membership newbie / Robert Plank. So I have my WordPress site here, but now I have copied it over somewhere else, and now I can try all I want, because this is not a live site. It contains everything that was on my site, but if I want to mess around with themes, plugins, CSS, anything, I can get as crazy or as simple as I want, and it's just a safe place to try it out. And once I have it the way I want it, then I can go and copy it right back. But in the meantime, the site is not messed up at all, right? James had some glitches on his blog, but because he used BackupCreator, he can now just roll back and get his blog back to a safe place. Kyle says it's the best backup system he's used. He backs up his site before upgrading WordPress, before upgrading plugins, themes, before doing anything, just because you don't know what's going to happen, and it's always just a good thing to put in your system, in your checklist. Amin Moten, who's a good friend of ours, he's moved blogs from one hosting service to another, but he also just sets up blogs the way he wants them to go, with thesis, pages for legal stuff, for disclaimers, links, AdSense blocks, plugins. Instead of spending 45 minutes every single time, then he just backs it up, restores it somewhere else. So he develops these on his local computer, gets it exactly the way he wants, and then when it's time to publish that site to the public, boom, back it up, restore. Now it's online. Really simple, but also he had to try a few things that didn't work before he found a system that actually does work. David says he backs up a very large membership site that has a lot of moving parts, a lot of complexities, and if he lost it, there would be so much time lost just to get back to where he's at right now. So he sets up a clone of a live site, right? And then tweaks and improves things. And then once he has it right, he clones the clone back to the live site. So he's got his live site, and he goes over and clones it somewhere else where no one can see. makes all of his little changes, and then he clones it right back to the live site, backs it up here, restores it here, and then boom, now you're rocking and rolling. So this works, and even we have people like Monique on the call right now who's lost everything more than once, but now that you have BackupCreator, now you can recover from those backups. So this works well for you, but it also works well for you doing this as a service to others, because think about it. If you back things up for someone, then that's something that you can charge on a monthly basis. Let's say that part of what you do is you set up a website for them, right? But what that also entails is you paying for their web hosting, for their domain, and then another cool little feature is a backup. Now, just by backing them up, that means you can now get paid $100 more for pushing a button for even less than that, because you can have the backup running automatically. And then you can even increase your prices and justify that price increase by saying, well, I'll recover your site if you lose a file, I'll recover your site if it gets hacked, so you can use BackupCreator to add all these things. And it even works well just for the setup part in addition, because you have your own little template, you have your own website set up for WordPress, you back it up, you restore it, and now you've set up a site for them in a few minutes. They don't even know how you did it. Hugh backs up his sites and his client sites, charges a monthly service or monthly fee for that. Lewis backs up his client sites and his own sites. Andrew backs up his own sites and his client sites. It's pretty easy because when we showed you in the settings here, let's see, where are we at? BackupCreator settings. Okay, you can just set this up to automatically back up, and then depending on the size of the website, it'll just email this as an attachment into your email. So we have many people who just store all the website backups in Google Mail, in Gmail, and that way every day or every week they get a new email from their blog. It's kind of weird when your blog emails you, but their blog emails them with this attachment. Now they can get back to this anytime that they want. Use this for templates. So Stuart didn't understand backing up, didn't really get the point of cloning until he realized, hey, I can set up this site with these themes, these tweaks, all these settings, all the things with the sidebar, get it the way I want it, and then copy it, put it somewhere else. Bill likes it for security, but it also helps to save all this time setting up all these different plugins. Sean says it takes a couple of minutes to do something that used to take an hour or more. Talk about a productivity boost. And I can go on and on. People like John, who said that he's 80% done setting up a new site in 10 minutes because of BackupCreator. We've got Fullis, who builds 5 or 10 new sites every 2 days, and this helps him quite a bit because he just has it already set up, ready to go right off the bat. Dale manages 13 sites, and with BackupCreator, just back it up and duplicate it everywhere else you want. Kevin now spends only 2 or 3 hours in what would have taken 2 or 3 days. This guy, 3/5, got a client to get paid for 17 websites at $300 a site in a few minutes each from BackupCreator. You do the math. So lots of cool ways to use this plugin called BackupCreator.com. And there are 6 ways to profit today using BackupCreator. You can back up and restore your site for safekeeping. You can back up sites for clients. We have a developer version for that where you can go in and charge someone one time, charge them a monthly fee, make it part of your setup and hosting package. You can recover hacked or broken sites, because if you don't need it, you don't get it. But if you are ever in that situation where the site's down, site's broken, need that file, you'd give almost anything just to be able to go back in time and click that one button and back up your site. You can automatically back up your sites. That way it's in process, but you don't have to worry yourself about it. It just happens every day, goes and backs them up to, say, your email or to Amazon S3. You can create a safe place to test new changes. You can clone one local theme or one membership site in WordPress into many. You can sell and flip websites, and this is all in BackupCreator Ultimate. You can run unlimited backups on unlimited sites. You can clone, copy, duplicate this to a new WordPress site. You saw how in just a few seconds we were able to copy a backup from one place to another. There's no FTPing it down, FTPing it up. It just goes from one to the other in a few seconds. You can back up and remotely put it anywhere else in any other site, pull it back down from a site, use your web browser for that, send them over to Amazon from email. It comes with 1 year of updates and new features for a total value today of $876.00. But you know you're not going to have to pay that, right? Because with Backup Creator, where you can easily backup and restore an unlimited number of WordPress blogs, it keeps all your settings, themes, and plugins in place. And unlike most backup solutions, you can easily move backups onto other servers. This is a big, big part of it. Because many backup plugins, well, you can back up and you can restore, but you can't clone. You can't copy over to a new place. Ours does. There's one-of-a-kind server-to-server clone it fast transfer. No one else has this feature except for Backup Creator. You can get it all now for just $197. That's Backup Creator Ultimate, and you can server-to-server your backups, automatic backup daily or weekly, backup as an email attachment to a remote FTP or S3 server, or restore from it, or use your browser for that for just $147. Because if you have a website, this is a must, because there's no point in setting it up manually anymore, just to repeat those same steps, take all that time where you can just click a button and it's already set up from your starting point. To do it in a few seconds instead of days. It's now been on the market for 1.5 years. I'm sorry, 1.5 years in the making now. You can log in and grab the latest version anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And now what's really cool is it's in use on almost 50,000 sites. So I want you to be part of those 50,000 and grab it right now today for just $97 to backup, clone, and protect your sites. Because we both know you want this to never lose a file again, backup your sites, and be able to roll back anytime. We both know that you want to instantly set up a duplicate site, to move a site, test a site. We both know that you want to be able to get paid $50 to set up a simple WordPress blog, or even as much as $4,000 to set up a simple membership site, or even ongoing if you want to host it for them, provide backups, create content, do some of the traffic. It's up to you, but this tool will get you to get your website set up very, very quickly for just $67 today at BackupCreator.com. But I'm still not done, because I honestly want you to jump on this right now. If you ever heard, if you can't decide, if you wait around, then someone else will decide for you, and that's not good. But you get a massive discount today, which is good, and it's called the Protecting Nearly 50,000 Sites discount. So it's not even $197, it's not $147, it's not $97 or even $67. It is just $57 at www.backupcreator.com. So go to www.backupcreator.com right now to backup your blog before something happens to it. It's your insurance policy to have a backup to restore later and set up that membership site, that blog, that sales letter, or that squeeze page somewhere else. You restore one backup and it's more than worth it, and it's just $47 for you right now today. So let's go to it together. Let's go to www.backupcreator.com, backupcreator.com. You go right here and you see that we're protecting just under 50,000 sites. This is exactly what we talk about today, the Backup Creator plugin. Go down to the bottom, and we have the $7 version where you can run it on 5 personal sites. But to get all the coolness, to get automatic backup, to have FTP, S3, and all that good stuff, it's just $47 to use on as many sites as you own. That's unlimited personal sites. That's at backupcreator.com. I'm going to put that in the chat box right now so you have a clickable link. That's backupcreator.com. That's right there. That's right there. That's right, just $47 to use on as many sites as you own. Run as many backups, run as many restores, clone as many sites. The limit is what you decide to do, your imagination. That's backupcreator.com. BackupCreator, backupcreator.com. Go ahead, do it right now. My name is Robert Plank. Go to backupcreator.com, and thank you.